All right, what's going on, everybody? Super Saiyan Paul here, back at again with the man, the myth, the legend, Retconning Unreal Entertainment Gaming.
Yeah, what's going on, man? Thank you so much for having me back on the channel, bro.
Yeah, what's up, man?
Yeah, it's been a long time.
It has. We're going to be talking about today the future of Dragon Ball Super, and I have a very, very interesting question for you, which is, do you think that they should be overtaking the Dragon Ball GT part of the storyline, where we already know it's not canon, but in terms of like the actual timeline as where post Dragon Ball Z finishes, where after Goku takes off with the Oob, should they go and retcon everything and just finalize that stuff, or do you think they're not doing that because of marketability reasons and facts of such as that SS4 Goku is such a popular character and they're already in the video games and it's going to be really kind of confusing for the consumer? What do you think?
See, back in 2015, Toriyama came out with an interview with Toyotaro where Toyotaro asked about the concepts behind Battle of Gods, and Toriyama admitted back during that time that it would have been very difficult to carry the story if it were not for Whis and Beerus being an element within the story. So it gave him leeway to actually go on ahead and create more of a expanded universe with those characters versus just having to carry on with Goku and everyone else at the time, right? And this was 2015. Now fast forward five years later, it's very I'll be honest, the future of Dragon Ball right now in terms of anime production is very grim for two reasons. Number one, the current status of the world, right? I mean, it's overtaken everything to the point where movies, like mainstream productions, television shows are at a halt. And being the fact that it had impacted Japan because Digimon was delayed, a whole bunch of animes were put on hiatus at the time with this virus having to strike. There's no question about the fact that even right now, it's looking very grim in terms of a production value kind of aspect versus manga. So I feel like if anything's going to continue, it's going to go down in the manga. And the second aspect is Toriyama never submitted any of his drafts as of this point for a concept of a movie or a show. So Toriyama has not submitted his project yet. Whether that be because of his own accord or because of the current climate, he has not submitted his project, which only means we're not going to get Dragon Ball back on TV or have a potential movie for a long time. But this doesn't mean that we can't carry on in expanding the manga, because arguably a lot of one of the best animes right now, a good one would be Attack on Titan, right? Attack on Titan is regarded as one of the best animes right now because it follows the manga tit for tat, and it's expanding to the point where it follows everything suit and it translates very well on over, right? So I feel like if they were to do that first, they need to illustrate the points, I think, through manga aspect first, and then you have a lot of material to expand that with an animated project. Because if you were to go into the territory of the end of Z, which a lot of people do want to see, and myself as well, you know, that would be good. Whether or not they want to kind of retcon the ending and then go past it, it's up to them. I think at this point, the renaissance for Dragon Ball is just for them to make money. There's nothing wrong with them wanting to make money as a company, but so as long as things make sense. So I feel like we are going to enter that gap where we're finally going to have the Budokai tournament and everyone's going to be there. Goten and Trunks are going to be older, yada yada. But I feel like there's still going to be a few more things that happen before we reach that point. But even after we reach that point, I really feel like they should carry on over in doing kind of like, let's say in quotations, a Dragon Ball Super GT kind of aspect, minus the whole debacle with the Suforians and the Super Android and the Shadow Dragons. I feel like they could ultimately just continue the story the way it is, except instead of having GT elements to where Goku's a kid and, you know, Vegeta cuts his hair, instead we do have Goten and Trunks who are older. We do have Gohan who expands more with his family. We do have Bola and Pan actually trained. That would be dope to see the daughters of, you know, some of the strongest warriors in the universe actually do their own thing, right? Being the fact that they're not Goku, they're not Vegeta, they're not Gohan, they're their own people, we can see a different kind of element to where Bull is the aggressor like her father, and Pan is the one with tremendous potential, and to see those girls become best friends and train together and potentially even seeing them become Super Saiyans would be a great thing. Even superseding their own brothers, Goten and Trunks, I mean, it would be fucking phenomenal. But I think that there's so much potential, but the question is, do they want to do it? And it's already public knowledge that Toriyama just doesn't want to do it anymore. Hence why he has workers, writers, staff. He doesn't draw anymore. He doesn't really do the hardcore work like he did back in the 90s. He just sometimes submits bulletin points. If not bulletin points, he just gives you a few key points and you're on your own, right? And if he approves, he approves. So I feel like in that aspect, if they want to continue it, I feel like Toriyama would have to be, you know, the one to get the approval from. But if they were to do it, then I think you could still expand without necessarily dragging on the Super Saiyan 4 elements and stuff, because the Super Saiyan 4 element was theoretically included with the concept of Ikari or Wrathful and Broly, because it's interesting to see how he became an Ozaru, and then he condensed that in the form of like having a humanoid version of that, which is pretty cool, you know, and it explains the way he was able to use that primitive power and that primal state to combat that of Super Saiyan God at the time. So they can expand more of that. And again, if you want more evidence, you can go back to the Tournament of Power when Vegeta first saw, you know, Kale reach her Berserker form, and then he warned Goku, Kakarot, be careful, this could be what is that of the legendary Super Saiyans that were spoken of in Legend. And then in the manga, the same thing was confirmed with Caulifla and Kaba having to speak on Kale, when Kaba confirmed that she was, and she possessed the powers of that of the legendary Super Saiyan. So you can continue that in different aspects versus having to just incorporate Super Saiyan 4 and Baby and all that kind of stuff in a different kind of way.
Yeah, I 100% agree, and I feel like they leave so much on the table by not doing so, because at the end of Dragon Ball Z, the world was much smaller before it is right now in Dragon Ball Super. Like, if you look at Dragon Ball Super versus where Dragon Ball Z ended and Dragon Ball GT, the universe and universes are just so much bigger, and there's like limitless potential right now on the table. And if they don't take this opportunity to actually go and overwrite that, mainly I feel like it's kind of hesitation at this point because they're cramming it in within that time period of what they skipped in Dragon Ball Z. If they don't utilize this, I feel like there's just so much that they're going to be just throwing away. And I feel like with Akira Toriyama just kind of being an autopilot, it's what's leading them to kind of get stuck in this state where it's like, do we do it or do we not? Should we go and overwrite this huge part of the story? Because that's years of content, and they've kind of really done the best that they can by squishing it in to this huge gap from where Dragon Ball Z ended, where the Majin Buu arc ended, and where Dragon Ball Z decided to end off as well. That huge gap of time is what they've been filling up with Dragon Ball Super, and I feel as though with forms such as you mentioned as the Ozaru form of Broly, they've left the foundation of so much more that they can do and unleash. And I'm hoping that they do and go and overwrite things such as that. Even when Goku went to go train Oob, if they could show us more storylines from across the globe or even the universes, because they've put all this effort into rebuilding these characters, and hopefully more so during the Moro arc, that there's so much for these characters to grow. And I feel like if they ended at where Dragon Ball Z ended, it would just be kind of abrupt, in my opinion. What do you think?
Okay, see, they could expand on that if they choose to do it, but then again, it's like, you don't. Okay, the greatest fan service that we're getting right now is from Dragon Ball Heroes, right? Even though it doesn't make sense in the form in which they're doing so, all of your wishes and all the things you want are coming from that alone. So that just kind of goes to show, like, we're not going to get Janemba in Dragon Ball Super. We're not possibly going to get Super Saiyan 4 because everything is being done and it's being showcased in Heroes, right? Arguably. So I think that if they were to expand with the idea of having to kind of incorporate the elements of GT, they still can, but you don't have to necessarily rehash the same villain. You don't have to rehash the same form. You could do something different. Instead of having Super Saiyan 4, you can replace that by giving them, you know, the Ikari element, to where maybe they do try to expand on their tails and they grow into great apes, but then just like Broly, they managed to kind of condense that in the form of like a human, like Broly did, kind of had the wrathful hair, the eyes. It still sells because Broly was clearly very different when he went from his base form to his Ikari form, right? It was a clear difference in power and a clear difference in visuals. His hair was different, his eyes were different, his demeanor was different. So you can still do that too. Instead of having Super Saiyan 4, you just give like Vegeta Ikari, or you do something, right? You keep stacking on stacking. I'm not one that wants to keep adding forms because it's just like, it's repetitive. It's like at this point, you know, you keep throwing in things that are useless against the enemy. It's like, what's the point, right? So I like the idea of what they're doing now. But if you do want to incorporate elements of like a Tuffle King, like similar to Baby or whatever, or, you know, having something similar of nature to, like, maybe there was another android instead of having another 17, you can have Neo machines or something similar to Cam and Orin that we saw in Heroes come about. You know, they could do that, but I think that the approval all goes through Toriyama, in a sense to where you have to incorporate specific elements to be approved, but I don't think that you have to copy it. I feel like they shouldn't do that. Like, if you're gonna do like elements of like shadow dragons, for example, you do them different. You do them based on like, well, this wish, the reason why I was born is because you summoned Shenron to wish and ask for the Super Saiyan God, right? You could do that. You can actually have dragons born from wishes currently made but you don't have to have 7 of them. You can ultimately have them, you know, be narrowed down to maybe 2 or 3, but at least that's your core establishment. With Baby 2, you can have this Neo machine from like a different fucking part of the universe come by, but instead of having revenge on the Saiyans, he just wants to, you know, destroy all life by embedding and stealing and manipulating. So you can do things like that. But if they were to do a Super GT, don't copy GT. Do your own thing that you're doing currently, but also give the other characters time to evolve and time to do their own thing. And that's the one thing that I enjoyed about GT, was you had Oob, you had Gohan, Goten, you had everyone do their own thing. And then when it was time for the big dogs to step up, they stepped up.
Very, very true, especially with like Vegeta towards the end. Even though they kind of shelved him for the first half of that, he did come back towards the end, and he had a very, very iconic moment. Going back to things such as like Super 17, that was a very cool concept, but it wouldn't fit what happened now because with the whole Tournament of Power and stuff. But then pulling those elements and using them for inspiration in something brand new, I think is what we all want to see. And I'm hoping they just finally get past this final tournament in Dragon Ball Z and just finally show us, are you going to be showing us anything that happens after this point? I feel like at that point it's just free fall. You can do whatever you want. You can do anything that you like, your heart's desire, and you don't have to worry about constraints. Whereas right now they're really trying to cram it all in and trying to still fit the continuity of like, where did Dragon Ball Z end? Where were these characters when it ended? And does it make sense? Even though we all know right now it's pretty far-fetched, especially with all the things that have happened in the newest arc, in the Galactic Patrol arc, and in the Tournament of Power. It really threw all of those things out of the window. But any final thoughts on what you have to say about this?
I feel like the possibility is there. Like, you can't really rule anything out because it's like, who's to really say? I feel like it's there for it to be done, but it really all varies on the direction. And this goes back to like what you just said about the Galactic Patrol Prisoner arc, because everything boils down to direction. Like, what's the direction after? Are they going to expand on this? Or are they going to expand on that? I mean, for all we know, they could go into the end of Z, like maybe have a time skip to where after Moro they finally go to the Budokai tournament and they're doing their own thing, you know. So the elements are there. It's just a matter of seeing what direction they're going to go in. But I feel like if they're going to go in that direction, it's honestly not going to happen for a very long time.
Alright guys, make sure you guys smash that like button, make sure you guys subscribe, hit that bell icon to stay up to date with all Dragon Ball news, information, updates. Make sure you guys go check out Alex's channel, link will be in the description. We'll be seeing you guys next time, alright? Take care. Peace.